So as we get started, just real quick, a little bit about our itinerary. So obviously this is the welcome here. You know, this, interestingly enough, the picture here is from the Medical Careers in Action, which happened, I want to say, a year ago this week. That's me up on the stage going through a mock appendix surgery. Unfortunately, we were not able to have that this year, obviously, because of the pandemic, but we are happy that we are able to get together for the advisory board. So first up, we will have college panelists, and Lynn Cottrell will be hosting that for us. And then Lori Sienkiewicz, the Regional Director of Employer Engagement, will provide us with an update. And then we will get into the industry panelists to discuss trends and skills and everything else that we normally discuss on these. And then finally, we will wrap it up with a short Q&A session. So if you have any questions, though, as we're going through this, please put them in the chat, and we'll make sure that those get addressed as we go along. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn Cottrell to take over and talk to our college panelists. So Lynn, it's all yours.
So I'm Lynn Cottrell. I think I know most of you on here. I've been in medical assisting for the past 27 years. I'm an RN. I work for Orange Coast College. I'm their program director. I was with Santa Ana Unified School District as a school nurse before that and taught in their ROP program for about 17 years. So without further ado, what I would like to do is go ahead. I'm going to ask the question. College panel, do you have a copy of the questions? No. Okay, then I'll just go ahead and repeat the question when I call on you. So Susan, may we start with you?
Sure.
Okay, so go ahead and introduce yourself. And then it does ask on here, how long have you taught in the medical field? Or it doesn't say how long have you been in the medical field. So I didn't answer that question either. So let us just get a little overview of your college's medical courses, and are those online, in person, or hybrid?
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Susan White, and I am a master's prepared registered nurse. I've taught at Saddleback College since 2002. I have been a nurse 35 years. I've taught in a variety of positions. I was clinical nurse educator and ACLS and BLS educator as well. But I have my favorite job now, which is department chair of the medical assisting program at Saddleback College. I've been teaching in that program since 2004. Saddleback College is located in Mission Viejo, in case you don't know, so we're South County. We have, in our program, we're part of the Health Science and Human Services Division, and we are a program that offers 4 different tracks, if you will, 3 certificate programs in medical assisting. So we have administrative, clinical, and comprehensive, and we have an occupational skills award for insurance billing and coding. We're also, 6 of our courses go towards other certificates in CTE, such as medical scribe, which is a relatively new program for our division, as well as coding specialist and health information technology. So our classes, interesting you should ask. Prior to March 13th, 2020, 90% of our classes were face-to-face. And as of March 13th, 2020, we had 10 days to decide whether or not our clinical face-to-face courses would be offered virtually. Well, my administrative MA faculty, Heather Nathan, she was good to go. She went right on with online with the administrative courses, took a little finesse with equipment so that people could see the billing and coding books larger. But she was good to go. Sharon Druce and I neither of us were going to cancel our clinical classes. So I taught minor office surgery and medical asepsis virtually, which was interesting, as did Sharon Drew. She did her medication administration course virtually. We got real creative. We bagged up essential supplies that were non-sharp that the students would need so that they could perform return demonstration virtually with us. And every single one of our students finished. And it was quite amazing, to be honest, because it was our first introduction into, can we teach these skills virtually or not? Students really liked it because we still kept the connection with them. And I think we pushed ourselves yet again to see what we could do. The thing that was funny was distributing supplies. You know, we went north, south, east, and west. Okay, I'll meet you at this Chick-fil-A on this street at this time. Here's, you know, that kind of thing. We did have to bump our summer externship to fall. And actually we discovered that we like the idea of a spring externship and a fall externship better than spring and summer. So that's what we're proceeding with down the road. Last year, we had 22 externs complete and graduate. And I'm happy to say 93% got jobs. And this spring, I currently have student externs out there in the field, and they're working and finishing. I've got them staggered, which was kind of a different approach, but it's worked. The sites are glad to have them, and the students are glad to be out there working. And that's it for now.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Carol, would you like to comment on that question? Are your college medical courses online, in person, or hybrid? And you're muted too.
You got me off guard a little bit there. I had to apologize. I actually have two 3-hour insurance classes to teach starting at 2 o'clock. So I'm only going to be able to be here for a short while.
Okay.
But just you know, talk about a little bit about our program. I know I'm not on the schedule. Catherine has 2 clinical classes starting at 2 o'clock also, and so neither one of us, you know, felt we wanted to be, you know, our official participants. But again, I'm definitely with you on the challenges of this last year. Currently, we have 9 courses that we 9 different courses that we offer from you know, administrative, clinical, insurance, 2 semesters of terminology that includes H&P and pathology, as well as blood-borne pathogens, phlebotomy, and a work experience, optional work experience program as well. And you know, these classes are again have been quite a challenge. My admin and my insurance and 2 terminologies are done virtually, are done by remote. But the clinical classes are blended, basically by remote, but there's 5 days that we come together, masked, gloved, distanced, to do, you know, clinical, like testing really on what's been taught virtually. Also the phlebotomy, we have 2 days that are done face-to-face as well, and the bulk of it is done hybrid. And so it's been a challenge. We offer some terminology classes by remote, and then some terminology classes strictly online, as well as an additional computer applications class that's strictly online. But our program is bursting, I have to say. These students have risen to the challenge of where we're at, and we have probably, you know, 700 to 800 students. Some are taking more than 1 class in our courses this semester, and so they have been incredible. We try to teach our courses with the same information as enthusiastically as possible. And I've even found some of the things that I've changed in my courses that I will keep up when we move back face to face, because I think they're much more effective. And so it's been
graduation and dog sitting, but just download these or break them up, or
I can excuse me, was that a question? No. Anyway, we do have a certificate program, and then we have our associate degree program as well. We've had a lot of students that have bachelor degrees coming into our courses, particularly the terminology courses, because they're applying to grad school. And during this pandemic period, they're using this time to get broader medical experience, put that on their resumes. And I've heard that many, many times from the students, and also including the terminology classes in particular. So it's again, I think some of the other departments at the college are not faring quite as well during the pandemic, but we're just as big as ever. So I definitely appreciate the effort that that Professor Emily, and we do have a new adjunct that's teaching with us also part-time, put into making it work through this difficult period. We have pathway programs with several, coming from several high schools. We do give credit for our terminology classes from the high school, and then we have quite a few students that are enrolled in our college program that are in high school as well. So we're doing pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Patty, would you like to comment on the courses online, in person, or hybrid?
Certainly. I'm Patty Spittler. I am the program director for the Health Information Technology program at Cypress College. As Susan and Carol had already mentioned, it was quite difficult to all of a sudden we had to make changes. We are usually on campus, face-to-face program. However, we did transition pretty successfully with the students to totally online. We're continuing totally online into the fall, but normally we are a hybrid, face-to-face, and their work is done in Canvas. And so we report up through health science. We have also nursing, mortuary science, dental program, and a psych tech program, and nursing as well. And we all transitioned our classes to online. However, some of our labs were brought back to Canvas, such as our more science, our dental, and our nursing programs do have labs back on campus. And, it was met with a lot of challenges, but we all did very well. Our students did very well. And in the HIT program, we were able to graduate our graduates last semester, even though a lot of the hospitals sent my students back to me because of the pandemic. We were able to give them projects and have it pass our accrediting body, which was very beneficial, and we were able to graduate the group of 25 in the program. And our program is not impacted, so we are definitely looking for students. So hopefully, if you know of some students who want to be in healthcare, but not necessarily in direct patient care, send them my way, and I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me make sure it's okay. Carol, are there any other faculty members from colleges?
I'm just kidding. He does know.
Hello? Can you please all mute yourself? But if you are college faculty and I've passed over you, just raise your hand. Okay, looks like we're good. So I'll go ahead and answer that for OCC. All of our classes have gone hybrid. So we have 11 programs, and I won't bore you with all the details because I think you probably know all of them already. But we have found medical assisting specifically, we did not miss a beat. So we just kept going. We had permission. We were back on campus. Our labs are all evaluated for capacity. And so my MA lab can only take 7 students and 1 faculty member. So we had to scale back. We only took 14 students in this fall. Half of my students were sent back from their internship in spring of 2020. And since that time, we have gotten back with our clinical sites, community sites, and all students have graduated. And as far as this semester goes, we have no attrition so far, nobody's dropped, and we're all good to go. So I'll go ahead for the college people. And I understand if time is short or whatever, the next question that we'd like to touch on is what skills should current high school students build to prepare for your college's programs? And Susan, I'll let you start again.
Sure. As this is not new, I've probably shared this with all of you in the past. And the biggest challenges we're still seeing are the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic, the basics. Soft skills, as we've also mentioned, I think we're all challenged with our students, many of the students coming in with soft skills, the ability to multitask, follow instructions, listen empathetically, writing. Those are really the biggies. We've seen, it seems like an increase in our ESL students. I thought we had a lot of English second language learners, but it seems like that's also on the uptick as well. And we're not talking just locally, all over. So really, as much as I can say, a strong working knowledge of English language, both verbally and written. I would say that's the biggest thing that I would put out to everybody.
Thank you. Carol?
On that, I think communication, both written and oral, developing those skills is really important. I do see some weakness in writing skills. Another thing would be if they have an opportunity to take a life science class, like different high schools have different offerings. I know in high school I took a physiology class that definitely gave me a leg up, in my healthcare journey. But if they can take even a biology class in high school, or an anatomy, physiology class, something like that, will definitely give them a head start.
Agreed. And Patty?
So in our what I have noticed and what we've been working on is dual enrollment with some of our high schools, which help prepare them in certain classes so that they're ready to jump into a program at college, and at Cypress College to be exact. But what I've been seeing a lot of is time management skills, the need of critical thinking skills. And I have to agree with Susan and Carol with the writing skills, sentence structure, English. And so I see students struggle a lot with that in our program.
Agreed with all you ladies. And I'll say at OCC, math seems to be a huge struggle. I don't know if that's because I teach pharmacology and they're just having some difficulty, but I'd say the basics again, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and of course, always the soft skills. And since, I don't know if you've noticed this, but just generally, I seem to have noticed that since we're on Zoom, there's a real lack for some students to engage. And so that's been a particular concern for us faculty. And I don't know if that's coming from the high school, that the kids are just not used to Zooming, but I've seen, a few things which are concerning to me, like people smoking cigarettes and people having beers online. And, we just turn them all over to student services. But again, just those soft skills, like it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to sit without a shirt on. I get it, it's hot out, but we've had quite a few of those kinds of things as well. And that's just not in medical assisting, so it's in the other areas as well. And I did want to mention, OCC has a summer boot camp, and we've run it. I think this is the 4th year now. It's medical terminology in our 010 class. So it gives the students a little overview. We are running that, and that's open, I believe, to all high school students, but it has a 50-person cap now. And it's been pretty successful in giving the students a real life introduction. Mm-hmm. Carol?
We don't really have a given structure. A lot of times students will take courses when it's convenient for them. We do have our medical terminology, our beginning medical terminology, our first semester is a prereq for some of our courses, and we strongly recommend that to be one of their first classes. We also recommend our administrative front office class to be taken first, but that is a prerequisite for our computer applications class. And so we have very limited prerequisites as well. And it's just strongly suggested that students start out with those two classes so that they can do better in the subsequent classes. And but oftentimes they will take courses when it's fit it in their work schedule, or, particularly nowadays, with the pandemic and their home life. But we've had, I think, looking at my classes and, talking with with Catherine, that I believe my students are more successful, oddly, in this format because they can do it on their own time frame. They save a lot of time by not having to commute to the college. Basically, they just jump on their computer. First semester, a little bit of a problem because not everybody's resources, not everybody had adequate resources. But now at this point, last semester, my pass rate, it was great. I had very, very few students not, and generally they would disengage for some personal reason. But I find it's honestly in some aspects more successful. And as I said before, I would take some of the aspects that I've developed during this pandemic and put them back into my face-to-face. One thing that I've seen develop a lot with my students are discussion boards. I have a lot of discussions, and I think from a year ago to now, I mean, the discussions were minimalist, back then, but now these students go on and on making friends and sharing a lot of personal opinions and issues and things like that on these discussion boards. And so I think that, that adds to their success in the program. And I think will prepare them even more for the future.
Great. Susan?
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Susan, did you have a comment? Your hand's raised. Oh, okay. And then Patty, how about you? Success rate and how structured is your MA program?
So we don't have an MA program. However, we're hopeful that a lot of the MA students will want to continue their journey in education and come over to my program. They would get an Associates of Science degree in Health Information Technology, and then they can go and take their national credentialing exam to get their RHIT. And so my students have been very successful. We have a 98% passing rate of the RHIT national exam. And the nice thing is, what I see my students, they finish the program, they go to work for a while, and then they go back into school and either go for their master's or their bachelor's in health information administration, and go and get their RHIA credential. And so we're there, and I put in the chat for everyone, if you're interested in the program or know students that would be interested in the program, you can click on that and it will tell them the classes they need to take. And we do structure it so they can set up their ed plan first semester, second semester, third and fourth semesters, so that they know what to expect. I know life happens and things have to switch around and change, and we're always there to help our students figure that out. So our program for a full-time student is about 2-year program. And as I said earlier, we're not impacted. So students can just come right into our program. They will have to apply. However, there's a lot of resources and assistance if they run into any problems.
Good,
Thank you.
I've just been given a 10-minute warning and we barely got through half of these questions. So perhaps we could submit, those of us who are program directors or whatever, maybe we could submit answers to Ari, and then she could, send those out further to the committee. So the next question was asking about CMA at the high school level. If so, has it been done? I used to teach it at ROP. We had CMA and then we broke away from the AAMA because I didn't want high school students. The one thing that seems to be a little confusing is that people don't understand what certificated is besides certified. So we teach to certified. And at the high school setting, you have to be 18 years old to be a practicing medical assistant. It's just a state law. You have to be 18 years old in order to pass medication, even if you're being supervised. So you'd want to make sure that if you're going to set up a program this way, and it's the way we used to run it was in 9-week segments, if that helps you. And that was for 3 hours, basically per week. And I don't know if, we're college, so this may not be applicable to all of you, but certainly if you have, I would make sure that you know what CMA you're talking about, because there are many different ones. AAMA, it's kind of proprietary. They own the testing, they own the site, they own the curriculum, and you do what they say and you pay them $3,000 to join their deal. I haven't been with them 10 years because I don't think it's right. And plus the majority of our students are going on. So we use MA as an entry level, if you will. If you do, we use the California Certified Medical Assistants Association. It's one of the 5 that's recognized by the state of California. And in that case, they're a lot more flexible. I think there's rigor to their examination. So that's the way we've decided at Orange Coast College, is to go with them and not with the AAMA anymore. I don't know, Susan, do you want to comment on that?
No, I agree. I've looked into the AAMA. I've wanted to seek their accreditation, but it is laborious and expensive.
Yes.
And our students are prepared to take the CCBMA certification exam, which they do. And of every person that I've known that's taken it, because it's self-reporting, I don't get names of students, but our students do pass, and we've got rigor in all of our courses. I think people are surprised how difficult the MA program is. They think it's going to be really easy, and it's not. So my recommendation to any high school would be, get with the articulation agreements between the high school and the college, and perhaps a really good medical terminology class. Sorry, Lynn, I know that you do a lot of med term, as we do too, but
just one, one a semester.
I would encourage that, and just, because I've met with high school instructors who think that their med term is the same, and it's not. No. I would look at what books are being used and the course descriptions and curriculum, and see if we can't come up with something that could very well go from high school into college. I think that would be my recommendation.
Carol?
We do encourage our students to take the CC BMA, the one through the state of California. We found that was more in line with our program. And like I said, we don't, we strongly suggest it and encourage our students to do that. And I mean, as far as, I know that same, like Susan's concern about the high school programs, we do have certain high schools that we are aligned with, but the students will come and maybe they get credit for the first semester, but then they get into our second semester of terminology and they do poorly. They're unprepared. So I think certain teaching strategies in high school maybe need to be evaluated in order to increase the and content, perhaps, in order to increase the pass rate as they move into our courses. But again, we do strongly encourage our students to take the state exam, California State Exam, and those who take it pass it. It also, for some students, I think it's I can't remember what the current cost is, but the cost is $100+ if you buy the study guide, or if you want to take the additional, the admin or the clinical specialty certifications. And for some of our students, that in itself is a challenge. So, but we do encourage that one as well.
Okay, and Patty, I'll skip over because I think that's not in your wheelhouse, the MA. The next question would be, and this is probably going to be the last one we'll be able to take, is do any of your programs offer other allied health programs in sports nutrition, massage therapy, or have any relationships with chiropractic college programs? So at OCC, we do not, but we have started our integrative health program, which has been off to a great start, funded by the Samueli Project. So we're going to have some integration with UCI, and that seems to be a great success, but we do not have sports nutrition. We have several classes in nutrition. And then as far as chiropractic colleges go, we do not have any articulation with chiropractic facilities. Susan?
I have to
Sorry, Susan.
agree with Lynn. Yes, we're the same.
Susan, if I could just jump in first, I have to shut down this Zoom in order to open my window for my course, for my students to get into my course too. So if you don't mind, if I can,
I'm fine. I just agree with Lynn.
answer that, and then I'm going to have to check out. So I tried to open my, my conference Zoom, and it's like, you have to shut this one to open that one. And so anyway, just very briefly, we have an occupational therapy program, and we have a farm tech program. We don't have a lot of other programs, but students will often take our GEs or our MA program and then transfer down to maybe OCC for the, I know you have a radiology tech program down there, and obviously into our nursing program that we have as well. And so I think I'll have to jump out at this point, but sorry. It's good seeing a lot of you again. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, Ari, should we wrap it up here with the college panel?
Yes, if as long as Susan and Patty, if you had any last minute words of advice.
Okay, so Susan, do you have anything you'd like to close up with or new news for us?
I just want to clarify, make sure we have been back on campus with our classes, our clinical courses since the fall, and I have to say we've done a really great job with support of the college. No positive cases at all, and our students are really great with their actually triple PPE at times. Our students also can take the CPC exam for coding, and we offer that every summer. And I know, again, our students that have taken it have also passed. MAs are in demand. I mean, there was a huge demand even before the pandemic. It's even greater now. So please, send your students our way. If there are any questions, they can email me or my program specialist, Chelsea Tyson, and just look forward to seeing you all and all your students, and let us know if there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty, do you have any closing comments?
I do. Our school, our college does have a kinesiology program, a very robust one. If they have any ties to chiropractic, I'm not really sure about that. To also my students, when they complete the program and get their RHIT credential, they then turn around and take the CCS exam for coding. And so they're very well prepared for that as well. And hopefully, again, if your students want to continue their educational journey and would like to stay in healthcare, but not necessarily hands-on patient care, consider the Health Information Technology program.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I would like to recommend, if I may, Ari, that the college panelists will answer these and send them to you, and then maybe you could forward those to the rest of the members. And then also, if we could get our contact information for all the colleges, and perhaps the health career counselor. We have dedicated counselors at OCC, but we would like to share this with everybody. And I'd just like to add to what the lady said, medical assisting is in such demand right now. I don't have it. And since we've had to cut down our number of students to comply with COVID, these doctors are really hurting. And I've even had large corporate members call me and say, we need students before May. You know, can you get me anybody before May? So we've had to deal with that too. So we are in demand, and I guess that's it. So thank you very much for allowing me to facilitate this portion of the meeting. I appreciate it. And I'll turn it back over now to Ari.
Sorry. All right. So thank you so much for our speakers today. Right now we have Lori Sinkowitz, our regional director for the Medical Advisory Board. And she's just going to talk about some updates that's going on. So I'll let her have the floor.
Thank you, Autumn. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Lori.
Good to see you. Hi, Lynn. Good to see old friends here and some new friends as well. And this is always an exciting meeting for all of us. And I always learn so much from my colleagues, you know, as well. I think that as providers and educators in health, we couldn't help kind of to talk about the impact of COVID. And you've heard much of that already from the colleges. And those of us who have been providers and teaching those in health have really felt the full impact from this last year. And that continues certainly even this semester and through the summer. And we're looking forward to a brighter day, maybe in the fall, you know, as well. I closely watch all of the COVID numbers, and I'm very pleased to see that all of our infection rates and our fatality rates are declining. If we were all in the room together, I would have you all raise your hands if you've received your vaccine. I was able to get my elderly parents vaccinated this Saturday and Sunday at CVS. And so I'm waiting for my name to come up. And Susie, I see you. Yes. So it's very exciting as I hear more and more of my friends and colleagues that have got vaccinated already. So I'm excited about that, certainly. We know that COVID has had a huge impact on all of our education. And one of the trends that certainly we're hearing in nursing and in direct patient care is the loss of our clinical sites. Certainly in nursing, back when this all occurred last semester, they just pulled all of our clinical sites. And so we were able to use a lot of the regulations that we had, the governor's executive orders and waivers that were determined by the Department of Consumer Affairs to really help us use more simulation instead of using clinical. So that was you know, a great opportunity for us as well. As I think you've heard, maybe Susan and Lynn kind of say that they decreased their numbers of students that they admitted this semester. And nursing did the same thing, and some of the other allied healths did the same thing as well, just being very careful with the amount of clinical sites we have and the use of our space when it came to bringing those students back on campus for their skills and for simulation with all of that as well. And then the last big impact that I've heard from my colleagues, which Lynn and Susan and the others didn't really bring up, was the requirements from the clinical sites, the acute care hospitals, skilled facilities, and the other sites for the students to have frequent COVID testing, as well as to provide their own PPE equipment. And so that's one of the challenges that we have right now, is to have those students bring in their own gloves and masks, just regular masks, surgical masks, and face shields, and making sure that they had those, as well as now the N95 masks and having them fit tested for N95. So that's kind of one of the other trends that I've been hearing, you know, as well with all of that with COVID. The second topic I want to talk about, which we've heard a little bit about, is the role of the MA and the labor market need. If we pull up all of that information, we can see there's about 1,000 openings for MAs every year in just in Orange County alone. And that is certainly growing, and the demand in the medical field is certainly growing. It has been one of those areas that, you know, we kind of tease that health is recession proof, but in this case, we really saw the impact of COVID on the acute care facilities and on healthcare, and the great need to have more providers, especially medical assistants. So we're so proud of our programs and everything that we're doing, as well to meet that. One of the last areas I want to look at is resources that HWI that we have for you as educators. So I want to go over to my screen here. And it's not there. Let's see. Okay. Well, I had my website ready to go. So let me, okay, I'm just going to get out of that because it's not letting me share the screen I wanted to share. So let me just verbally tell you about our HWI website. So health is known as the Health Workforce Initiative. And so our website is ca-hwi.org. And we continue to have many resources for you. We have redone the whole website. And so when you get a chance to look at that website, the first area I want you to look at is right on our homepage, and it's called the I Can module. Ari, are you able to pull up our website and share it? Or Autumn? There we go. Okay. And will you scroll down just a little bit to, there you go. Okay, thank you. So this I Can area is COVID compliant area that discusses everything to do with COVID. It has to do with hand washing, it has to do with hospital housekeepers doing terminal cleans of patient rooms, and there's all kinds of resources here for you. So please take a look at that area and click on the modules that are there. You can incorporate those into your lesson plans, as well, and that's just one area to do that. And will you kind of go back up to the top a little bit and go to career pathways? Thank you. And career pathway resources for teachers. Perfect. So this is one area, again, our resources. Many of you who've worked with me for a long time know these resources. The one area is Exploring the Health Careers. That is the book that I have hundreds of in my office. Many of you have seen it. It's now in its 4th revision. You can pull that content off from online from this website if you wish electronically, or I do have hundreds of boxes of them in my office at Golden West, and I'm happy to share those with you when we get to be in person again, and you're welcome to those resources as well. HASP is one of the other curriculums that we have, and so that many of you have come to my HASP workshops, and that is contextualizing math and science courses to health. And so if you were to click on their website, it would take you out to their website, and there are many, many, many great lesson plans there, as well. Autumn, will you go back up to career paths, and we're going to go to the students, which is right below that. Thank you. Again, these are other resources that you can use in your classroom and that you can use with your students. It has that same Exploring Careers book is also located here for them. And then if you go down a little bit, Autumn, just to the bottom a little bit, there are all of our resources for our videos that were done from the Chancellor's office. And so you could use those, or if you want your students to explore which are the different roles, they can look at that section as well with all of that. Autumn, would you go back up to the top there? And so lastly, I just want you, on your time there, just to take a look at all these resources that we have here. We have curriculum resources. We have a tab for educators. This website really speaks to not only community college programs, but also to the high school students and high school educators as well with all of that. And those were all my only comments, Autumn. We can open it up to any questions if anybody has.
I have a question in regard to the website you just showed. In order for us to have access to the curriculum, do we need to get into a membership or anything?
Nope. It's all free. This is all free. This is your tax dollars at work, as we say. So we are from, I am hosted at Golden West College, but I am under a grant from the Community College Chancellor's Office, and everything that we do is free. It's free access to anyone. So you can download anything from our website and use it. We just ask that you give us credit for that and where you received that, but you can incorporate anything into your lesson plans or have your students use this website to pull off information for their assignments. It's all free for you to use.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome. No other questions? All right, Autumn or Arby, Autumn, I'll turn it back over to you. I'll be here for the rest of the time if anything else comes up and if I can add anything else. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So we had a lot of great information with that, and that's a very good website to visit in case you need any resources for your students or your classrooms. Ari did post the link in the chat, and then I believe there will also be some information on the app as well, which Netta is about to go over with you right now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Netta.
Thank you so much, Autumn. So we have our VetLink app that we've been using for all of our programs that are online, and one of the really great resources for you guys to use for the advisory boards. The link for the app has been emailed to you guys, and Autumn and Ari, are actually sharing the link in the chat with you right now. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and do a walkthrough of what information you guys can find within our app. So once you guys log in, you will be asked to enter in an access code when you put in your email and password of your own choosing. And when you put in the access code, you will enter this page. Both the link for the community and the access code have been emailed to you guys by Ari. And if you do not have that, please just put a note in the chat and we will get that to you as soon as possible. Your email and your password is something that you can choose for yourself. You are welcome to use your school emails or any other email that you have better access to. The first page that opens up once you log in is the calendar page. It'll land on the day that we're on, which for today is the Medical Advisory Board, but you can also scroll through to go to the future advisory boards that are coming up in next couple of weeks. So if you go through the 19th, we have our Biotechnology Advisory Board. The next really great resource on here is Program Finder. I believe everyone is familiar with Program Finder, but we have it on here for easy access for all of our educators and students. On here, you can find the links to the different pathways that we highlighted through Program Finder, but as well as the original link for it. And if you click in, it'll open up the main website for Program Finder with all the other pathways that are also highlighted within this website. We think this is a great resource for educators to find all the different high school and community college career sectors that are out there. And so you guys can go through this and share this with your students that are starting their career path. Once you scroll down through, you will see all of our different advisory boards that we have coming up. And when you click into the medical front office and back office advisory board, you can enter into the page. And you will see the date of when today's event is. And in the future, after this meeting is over, we will have the recording uploaded in here. So you will see a button pop up that says view recording. We also have all of the documents. So we have the submitted documents by our industry panel that are going to be coming up very shortly, as well as the documents from Cypress College that was submitted by them. And information on the PowerPoints and the panel questions that were asked today and the agenda for today's advisory board. So you guys can look through them. Lastly, I just added in the website that Lori gave us. If you guys click on the website, this will open up for you right there. So if the meeting is over and you missed it from the chat, you can always come back to the page and have the resource sitting right there for you and your students. And one other feature within the page, within the community, is our users. So as the advisory boards have occurred, we've accumulated a list of different advisors and participants from the advisory board. So you can come in here, you can connect with them by adding them, and you can go ahead and send them messages. All of your messages with the different participants will show up on the left-hand side, as well as your different connections that you've built. Program Finder is an open source, and it can be you guys can go ahead and just go through the app to get to the link and save it on your desktop. You don't necessarily need to go through our app because it's a resource provided for all the Orange County schools and districts. And just to make sure that when you guys are logged in to the app, there will be the access code with an exclamation point at the end of it. Sometimes the exclamation point is missed when you guys are entering it, and so it does not accept the access code. So just make sure you guys copy and paste the entire access code, including the exclamation point as you see it from the
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So happy to be here. For those of you that don't know me, again, my name is Kylie Lyle. I'm with Medix. We are a national healthcare recruitment firm. I sit in our Orange County office and territory. However, I oversee all of our Orange County, LA, San Diego, direct patient care recruiting efforts, as well as Seattle. So super thrilled to be here. I have volunteered with VitalLink for almost 2 years now doing these specific panels, and I absolutely love it. I enjoy it so much and getting to meet all of you. I think I've even placed some individuals who have attended these meetings, which is super exciting. And I love to connect with everyone on LinkedIn. I do post a ton about our urgent openings and obviously things that have happened recently, with COVID has provided a lot of opportunity for new graduates specifically. So really excited to be here and also introduce 2 of our panelists for this medical advisory board. So True is here and Chrissy as well. So I will kick it off to them to briefly introduce themselves and who they're here with.
All right. Hi, I'll go next if you don't mind, Chrissy. Okay. My name is True McMahon. I am a medical doctor who specializes in emergency medicine. I also do some hospice and palliative care. My company is Vituity, and we are a partnership. We also have a part of our company that is hiring for not just partnership, but employee status. So that's why I'm here. Basically, we just provide consultation services and billing services and insurance services to anyone in the medical field.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying thank you, True. You're up next, Chrissy.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Chrissy. I'm a recruiter for I'll probably come to this panel a little bit more from the recruiting standpoint in general. Applied Medical, we are a medical device manufacturer. So we don't hire professionals. We hire engineers, people who are interested in doing like a clinical, like if you get a major in clinical, health services, but not direct patient care, anything like that. But we are located in Orange County. Our whole facility is. We have over 3,000 employees. And so we've been involved in a couple different things to just kind of let the industry know that we're here. We hire college grads really across the spectrum. And then we also try to partner with a lot of the community colleges because we do have manufacturing on site. So we look for a lot of those majors where your certificates, associates, that kind of thing. But I am one of the recruiters. We have about a 22-person recruiting team at Applied. So I will be happy to answer just general recruiting questions if it doesn't exactly apply to medical professions.
Awesome. That is so great. Thank you so much. So we're going to kick off this industry panel, just going to get into it with some of the questions. So one of the first things I want to ask you, and Chrissy, I'm sure you can decide who wants to go first, but what skills and techniques do you feel students should build before starting an entry-level medical position?
Drew, do you want to just go first? That way we'll keep it consistent.
All right, I'll jump in. Yeah, well, of course, in the medical field, obviously people skills, interpersonal communication skills. But we also have a lot of staff support. So at Vituity, we hire anyone from the scribe level to the billing level. So you have to have a lot of skills that are internet-based or knowing how to type really fast and just being very comfortable with technology. So those are the two biggest skills that new and upcoming at very high demand in our field, basically, and for anyone who works with Vituity.
I love that answer. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say just in general, a big skill that I'm having a trouble deciphering is your ability to work on a team, because everything has been virtual. And your ability to communicate with people and work collaboratively together, and work through problems when you can't sit down in a conference room and kind of get it all done. And so being able to show us that you're going to be able to work through those, figure out the solution, even though somebody may not be right there to show you, being able to troubleshoot for yourself and kind of think outside the box, I think is a big one right now.
Thank you so much. That is so great. Obviously, I'm going to answer this question. I think just coming from like a recruiting standpoint, I think it's so imperative when you're seeking an entry-level medical position to have, you know, a really nice, clean resume. Before this, kind of myself and the panelists, we were talking about like a LinkedIn presence or a professional presence. I think that is so important. I even train some of our newer recruiters at Medics, you know, to really how to brand themselves in whatever industry they're trying to go into or whatever job. It may sound cliche, but I'm sure many of you have heard, you know, the term that you should always prepare or define yourself as, or, you know, reflect the job you want, not the job you have. And I think that is so true in like a resume or a professional, you know, professional networking appearance. And with that being said, you know, piggybacking off of that, really, you know, interview practice and being confident. I think a lot of times people have not really practiced interview skills, or they're really hesitant to kind of take initiative and follow up and really just be on top of it. So I think an entry-level medical professional specifically, you know, really work on that resume and those interview skills. And I can send in the chat box some questions. I have like a really great like 10 question template on things to ask the employer when you're interviewing. So I think those are so small, and there's so many resources out there, whether it's like YouTube or whatever, to just really, you know, fine tune your resume and fine tune your interviewing skills so you can land that first job. Going on to the next question, what certifications and or licenses do you suggest students should always have while working in the medical field, and are they mandatory?
Well, that would definitely depend on whether you're actually working with patients or not with patients. So if you're working with patients, then definitely you have to have certifications from BLS, basic life support, to certification to work with a type of modality like radiology, or you would have to have a certification to work with, gosh, there's so much in the medical field, patient-to-patient interface. You usually have to know how to do blood pressures or draw blood. So you'd have to have certification for each of these skills, basically. But if you work in a support role where you're helping with billing or doing patient callbacks or even telehealth, then your skills are mostly, you still have to have the biologic background, the understanding of human anatomy, physiology, etc. But then you would have to go above and beyond that and learn a little bit more about how to interface the physical with the technology.
Awesome.
I will punt this one because we don't hire medical professionals, so we don't require
I can take this one. I guess I'll just touch on like just our standard like back office MA and like a front office role. For back office medical assisting, you know, this is kind of like the bread and butter of a direct patient care recruiter. So I'm very knowledgeable about this. You know, we really look for an MA certificate or a diploma. I think there's a lot of opportunity too, and I know we'll get into this, just like I said, with the recent business, COVID has brought us for new graduates to really get their feet wet, which is really exciting. Obviously, extern experience is critical. I think that's critical into getting your first job as well. And then, of course, the clinical experience. I am constantly looking for resumes with blood draws, administering injections, vitals. The biggest thing, I'm sure we hear this a ton, but you know, the EMR, the electronic medical records and electronic health records, a lot of these major hospitals, especially in Orange County, you know St. Joseph's in the middle of this crisis, they're actually working on implementing their Epic EMR, you know, this month. So everyone's going to these specific large EMR systems. So being knowledgeable about that is super important. In terms of soft skills, I think being outgoing, ability to multitask, quick learner, asking for help when you need it is so, so important. And then, of course, like True had mentioned, you know, the basic life support. I see a ton of needs, you know, from a compliance standpoint through American Heart Association. They all basically require a BLS through the American Heart Association. And then for front office, really, you know, experience, phone etiquette, high volume phone calls, scheduling, insurances, again, EMR, experience with doing multi-lines. Insurance verification is a new one. I think every position, whether it's, you know, more front office than like a revenue cycle type of role, they're all looking for someone that has or does feel comfortable calling insurances. And of course, personality is huge in the front office, really being, you know, bubbly, outgoing, friendly, smiling, you know, eager to greet people. You're kind of the front of the medical practice. So you're the first person that patients see.
Yeah, but I want to just jump in and say that if you don't like person to person or the front line hero kind of a thing where you're actually with the patient, there is a lot of support staff that we need. And that goes to, like you were saying, just helping with insurance or medical records or computer or even patient experience where you're putting together data and graph and patient satisfaction surveys where you're not actually interfacing with the public or the patient or the families, you're just interfacing with the data. So there's a lot of entry level in that department as well.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue. The next question is literally like, what entry level medical jobs should students look for after high school or college or a new certification? So I think True, that answered that perfectly. There is a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, definitely. If you're going to be wanting to get your first jobs in the hospital, then you'll probably be non-patient care related unless you're actually certified as an EMT or as a radiology technician. All of that certification can be anywhere between 6 months to 18 months, depending on which you choose. But you can definitely work in the medical staff office. You can work in the admitting office. You can do office clerical and still be a part of the medical field and not have to do patient care directly.
Yeah, that's a great point. That reminded me of a time like she was really wanting to be like a front office medical receptionist, and you know, there happened to be like an administrative assistant position, and that's like a great foot in the door. Awesome. Chrissy, do you have anything to add here?
You would think, knowing Zoom, I would say, obviously, like I said, as far as actual positions, but I actually am surprised at how many people don't understand that you'll use a computer just about at any job you have. And you need to know those computer skills. I talk to a lot of candidates that they're like, I don't really use a computer, or I haven't done Zoom, and it's here to stay. You know, you better learn it, you better know it. And that there's not going to be a job out there that doesn't use the computer at some point. And that you've got to really be up on your typing skills. But, you know, you don't have to necessarily know how to like type professionally, but be able to keep up and read through and that kind of thing. I'm just surprised at actually how many candidates I talk to that don't really know that, or are not very good at it, I guess, at this point. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know too, my experience, I don't know if this is more personal and if anyone else can relate, but I think a lot of times, like out of my high school career, like a lot of things were like Microsoft or like Mac centered. And then I feel like everything now is, you know, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, you know, being well equipped with all the Microsoft suites and then like also all the Google suites. It's like really, you know, kind of important to know both. And it doesn't matter what job you're going into, you're going to have to do both. So I agree with that. That was a great point. Thank you so much. Awesome. Well, rolling on to the next question. How can students be successful in your company or organization?
Well, you were hitting right on it, Kylie, in being personable, being a team player, Chrissy, was what you were saying. But the way you move up is basically, first you get certification, you get experience. Experience is going to be the #1 reason why anyone would want to hire you, especially in the medical field. And the second thing that they look at other than experience is your ability to show your supervisor that you're quick to learn new things when it happens. You have to be very, very flexible and able to pick up new skills, because everything's changing at such a rapid pace that if you're a slow learner or you don't take criticism very well, then you're not going to be able to go to the next level or be hired to stay on. Even you may even lose your job if you don't know how to team play and learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely. That is so good. You know, for example, I've seen this firsthand where we've staffed a vaccination site where no prior experience was necessary, open to new graduates, just doing strictly like administrative work. Great foot in the door, especially at like a vaccination site. And candidates who are not willing to like raise their hand, be flexible, be outside, you know, do whatever is needed, they're kind of pushed to the bottom. There's no way you're going to be a star performer and stand out and get the opportunity if you're not raising your hand and being completely flexible and jumping in on opportunity. Chrissy, do you have any?
Yeah.
You want to add for students being successful in your company?
Yeah, flexibility. I think that Drew hit that nail on the head. That and not thinking that something is below or above you, and being able to just jump in. And if you can't figure it out, finding somebody that can help you figure it out, and then not doing something because you think that that's somebody's job, you know, that's below you or something. I think, you know, that is so key. And I think any organization is that team player. What can I do for the company to be successful? Not what I can do for me to be successful. If you don't think that we can see it, we all can see it. And that kind of mindset is just not going to get you very far, because being a part of your team and being a part of the people that you're going to have to work with every single day, people you'll see more than your family, it's really important that they can rely on you and that you can rely on them. So just, you know, keeping it flexible, and honestly, keep trying to learn. even though you may, you know, be working or you feel like you've got your job down, still trying to learn new things, you know, always growing in that aspect, because you just never know how it's going to change. I mean, we all went virtual within a minute. And so, you know, just keeping up with things like that, I think is really important and shows your desire to keep yourself growing, you know, and then your companies will find a way to help foster that. So I guess that's
such great points. Awesome. Going into the next question. This might be a little specific to myself or maybe true, but the question is, do any hospitals you work for offer additional training, paid or unpaid, and or additional educational or internship opportunities? This one's tough, and I guess I'll just have a quick answer. I myself, you know, I'm not directly affiliated with the hospital. So in terms of unpaid opportunities, there's none of that with myself. Everything is paid, and it's like a qualified position that really requires a certificate. However, I know Kaiser and a lot of major hospitals, you know, directly through their websites, they offer a lot of opportunities. So that's really all I know about that. I don't know if you guys have anything to add there.
Oh, go ahead, Drew. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, after an initial certification, even if you don't have any certification and you just wanted to be in the hospital and you're not sure where in the hospital you want to be, if you can volunteer so you can watch what people do, the volunteer department is a great way to just kind of put your foot in the door, because then you can see what people do, what you like, what you don't like. That's exactly how I started. I was a candy striper back when they have candy stripers. And yes, I'm aging myself, but I was a candy striper and I helped the nurses get patient items that they needed, medical supplies from one spot to another spot. And I watched what the nurses did. I watched what the secretaries did. I watched what the radiology techs did. I watched what the dietitians did, the physical therapists did. I watched what they did and even what the doctors did, and decided what career choice I made and what certifications I wanted, just because I was able to see it. Now, in the old days, it was easier to shadow, but with HIPAA and all that, it's a little harder now. So shadowing is often frowned upon by most major institutions, but volunteering is perfectly a great way to kind of see and explore.
I used to work in hospitals a lot, so I'll just say from my experience with that is hospitals would rather promote from within. They like to do that because you know the systems, you know the credentials and all of that. So if there is a way you want to move up, you know, there's so many online resources now for different certifications and things like that. And you can go get those so much easier than I was a candy striper too. So I feel and even when I was in college, I mean, we didn't have all of the resources, you know, we have now, where you can, you know, you can further your education without having to go and get, you know, a whole bachelor's degree or master's degree. So just think that's really important things to keep in mind, that some of it's even free, you know, maybe you won't actually get the certificate, but you can at least expand your knowledge. So, but then some of them are free, so, or cost very minimal. So, just remember, companies want to promote from within. They don't want to bring other people in if they don't have to. So if there's an opportunity or something you want to do, find out what you need to do to get to that point. And don't expect people to come after you, though. Sometimes you're gonna have to take that initiative.
Yeah, I agree with Chrissy that companies like to promote from within. They'll often give you education credit and you can apply for a scholarship from the company. The hospitals have education dollars set aside so that you can spend time when you're not working, upgrading your education, getting a certificate, or going from a ADN to a BSN. they will help you do that, because when you hire, the process of hiring costs the hospital and the system money. So if they can, like Chrissy said, promote from within or just add to your education and make you a better employee, they save a lot of money.
Oh, real quick, sorry, before we continue, there are some questions coming in from educators in the chat. So if we could just go over those real quick for them. The first one is, how can a student present themselves as professionals?
Okay, I'll just jump in real quick with that. Basically, it is pants, no jeans for male or female, and the top should be collared. Suit is not necessary, but it certainly makes a statement. Dresses, if you'd like to wear a dress, that's fine. Just professional looking is mainly not sleeveless. So you still want to have at least to your mid arm or full length, full sleeves. But yeah, definitely no jeans, no polos. The collars are definitely more pressed cotton shirts or pressed whatever, non-cotton, but at least it's pressed. That the appearance they want to see. They want to see you looking almost like a doctor, even though you may not be applying for a doctor position.
Thank you.
I have one thing to add there for like a virtual presence, and that would be a really solid headshot. I think that's really important to a professional, you know, appearance online. It doesn't have to be necessarily taken by a professional photographer, but I always recommend like a white wall or a gray wall, something completely plain with you in a blazer, you know, really sharp, clean, you know, profile photo. And then also LinkedIn has a badge that's like the background, something like really clean and solid. And, you know, let's say you're in like medical coding school or medical assisting school. I would put your title as, you know, like a medical assistant student or aspiring medical professional, or like you can look up tips and tricks. I know LinkedIn even like now has the technology where it'll literally like create a bio for you. So really utilize those tools and the web for, you know, some outstanding professional presence on virtuals.
Yeah, as far as the virtual, I know virtual has become a, you know, we're all kind of winging it as we can. Some of us have kids running around all the time. But from an interviewing standpoint, it's still professional. I can't even tell you how many times we will have like a career fair and students are eating. I mean, they were talking about this, eating, parties going on in the background, or there's a lot going on in their background because they're in a dorm, and there is virtual backgrounds where you can shade that so that you can have an actual conversation where somebody's not distracted by everything going on behind you. You know, the person interviewing you, like me, might have their kid running around and screaming, but you as the candidate still need to try to be as professional as possible, because it's still an interview. And you would, no pajamas. Like we've had people show up to interviews in their pajamas on virtual. And even if it is via Zoom and it, you know, it's a phone interview, always be prepared that your camera could be on. I'll always be prepared that it could be a camera. We were having this conversation the other day about how some candidates just kind of like decide to answer their phone when they're driving for an interview. And, you know, they're obviously not taking it seriously. We're all busy, we get it, but for a 30-minute interview, stop the car, sit in the parking lot, you know, whatever you need to do. But we can hear everything going on in the background. So just something you would think you wouldn't have to tell people what to do.
Yeah, I think people forget like interview etiquette in this new virtual world. So it's a good reminder to have not to show up in your pajamas or like sorry, I'm gonna go through these chat questions real quick and then I'll turn it back over to you, Kylie. Sorry, I didn't mean to take over from you.
I love it. Go ahead.
So the next question is, what is something a student can do to ensure getting hired within a medical field like hospitals after they complete their degree? So what are steps they can take to get there? And then I'll leave the floor open to whoever wants to start.
So after you go onto the website, because most systems now have online application. There's not a piece of paper that you bring into the office. They don't take it at the site. It's usually corporate level. After you apply online, you always need to follow up. You will be one of so many applications. You want to stand out. You want to be different. So using contacts is very important. I recommend somebody who's already in the system, knows somebody who's in the system, talk up to your supervisor or the person who would be hiring. You have to have contacts. It's very hard to be the one that they choose out of all these dots and, you know, white and black. It's hard for people trying to hire. How do I differentiate between these applications? So definitely follow up after you put in your initial online with a phone call or a in-person, somebody who knows you, who knows the person who's hiring, so that they can speak up for you and say, hey, did you receive this resume? Did you receive that application? And I've seen a few emails that were kind of dry and not great. Like, oh, are you hiring? Oh, hey, I sent in my application. Did you get it? No, it has to be formal. Can't be informal.
Yeah, I would say details too, just to add to that, like formality. I get a lot of resumes like, here's my resume for the job opportunity. And I'm like, which one? Like the people that are, hi, so-and-so, you know, thank you so much for taking the time, blah, 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 like really detailed, going above and beyond. That's the person I'm going to respond to first.
I would say just in general for any company you're looking at, if they do information sessions or something at your school where they're going to talk about their company and you can go to it and listen virtually, in person, the networking, because I mean, I don't know about, we get over probably 1,000 engineering resumes a year. And that's a lot of resumes. So when we are talking to students and go to career fairs, and this could apply to anybody and anything when it comes to that, is, you know, you need to, like Drew said, you've got to network with the hiring team. You need to be able to say, remember, I met you at this, or you came up and asked a question, because that is how you'll stand out. That networking, the LinkedIn is so important now in connecting and building your internal network externally, essentially. So getting engaged, you're going to have to do some effort on your end to get engaged so that you do stand out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And there's just a few more questions in the chat as well. Let's see. The next one is, how did you know that your current career was the best for you? And then again, I'm just going to open the floor to whoever would like to speak on the question.
I'm sorry, can you ask the question one more time?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I kind of rushed through that. It was, how did you know that your career was the best career for you? How did you know this was the career that you wanted to be in? Like, was it trial and error? Did you just know you're born knowing you wanted to go into the medical field? Like, I know personally, I went through a couple different majors before I settled on mine. So what was your experience with that?
Okay, I guess I started with nursing and decided that I love nursing, but I needed more information. I wanted to know why. So I went back to medical school. So you don't know in the beginning. You choose what you choose based upon the best information that you have at that time. But keep your doors open and keep trying to see if this fits. I mean, I still love nursing. I love my nurses, but I like the challenge of running a department better. I like the challenge of trying to figure out what the disease is and what the treatment is, rather than just actually administering the medication. So you find out later on in life as you get better, and you always kind of stumble upon what you think you're good at and find out you're not good at it. And then if you personally find that challenging and you like that, then you'll go forth with that. But there are people who, once they get good at a certain skill, they want to stay at that level. That's great. That's what you did and that's what you like, and you want to stay with that for that time. That's fine. But there are some people who, they always want to be a little bit incompetent, always want to reach up to the next level and have a little bit of ambition and try to get to the next level. And if that's you, then you'll find that out as you're doing it. It's pretty much experience.
And did you, Kylie and Chrissy, did you kind of have a pretty straightforward path to your career now, or was it kind of like you changed your major, you stopped and started school? I know it took me a while to get out of school. So what was your guys' kind of experience with that?
Kylie, do you want to go?
You can go. I'll follow up.
No, I changed my major 3 times in college. Finally settled on marketing, and then got a job in sales, and then moved to medical sales, and I moved to a couple different companies. So yeah, no, I mean, if you had told me 10 years ago I was going to be a recruiter for my medical device company, I would have told you you're crazy. But I think, like True is saying, you don't know until you get in it, and then you figure out what you do like, what you don't like, which is fine. It's okay not to like certain things. Doesn't mean though you shouldn't challenge yourself just because you're scared of it. But like there's certain things, like I do not like, writing. I don't like documentation. So I don't need to be in something where I have to like keep detailed records of everything. I do like talking to people. I like finding out about them, and genuinely love working with my engineers at Applied, and trying to find them really fantastic people. But it took 16 years to find that out. So don't worry if you don't know right now. Just keep, and I said this earlier, just don't be afraid to keep learning, or to say, I don't know how to do this, I'm going to learn how to do this, or I'm going to get better at this. As you get older, you tend to start to think that like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Nobody can, tell me what to do. And so you have to be able to be like, you know what? No, I mean, when it comes to technology, my 5-year-old daughter shows me how to move things on an app better than I do. So being adaptable to that, and understanding you'll make mistakes, you'll choose the wrong job probably at one point. Just learn from it and grow, and find what you're passionate about, what makes you just happy. Yeah, it works hard. Don't get me wrong. It's hard. By Friday afternoon, I'm done. But, I still, though, by Monday, I love what I'm doing. And in general, I love what I do. And so, if you're not loving in your heart what you're doing, then maybe that's not the right place for you. Even if you don't like some of the tasks you're given, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not right for you. But yeah, it'll change all the time.
Yeah, my story. I mean, I graduated college almost 2 years ago. Medics was my first job out of college, and I had 3 other offers. I went to school for public relations, so not even close to the medical field or recruiting or sales or anything like that. And I took this job, honestly, just kind of curious, did not think I would be where I am. And I think for me, I just continually challenged myself. Luckily, I'm mentored by amazing leadership that have honestly really pushed me. I feel like a lot of the things starting out, I was so uncomfortable. Like I did not know what I was doing. I had to learn basically everything. But through that, I mean, every single day I just showed up and gave 100%, and to where I've gone in 17 months is pretty crazy. So I'm really proud of just my grit to just keep going and keep learning and, you know, putting myself out there. I tell a lot of like our new hires internally, you know, to climb the mountain. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work, but you know, really just to keep going and push yourself and don't give up. And I think, yeah, I mean, things will come naturally, other things won't, and that's okay. I think it's so okay to change your mind and change your desires. I think that's so normal. I think I just got lucky, and I think just truly giving 100% every day is like my biggest piece of advice. Just literally show up every day and try your absolute hardest, and that's all you can do.
Okay, thank you so much to all three of you for sharing that. I know we try to promote that there are a lot of different pathways to get to where you want to be. So that was a great example. All three of you had different ways of getting to where you are, but you're all in the same field now. And then I'm so sorry, Kylie, 2 more questions and I'll turn it back to you. So this next one is, what do you do if a patient or client refuses your services and it could put yourself and themselves at risk, safety risk? So what would you do in a situation like that? And then I'll open it. I know some of you may have more experience in that department than others, so I'll open it up again to anybody who'd like to answer.
That's a really tough one. That happens obviously in my department all the time in the emergency room because people are not in control when they get there usually. But whenever you feel that you're unsafe, you always want to step back. And there are already lots of things in place to prevent an unsafe situation. There's security always around. There's glass between you and the public, usually on first arrival, but oftentimes there isn't that. Like you're in the lobby and others will come in, and there's some safety issues. But the most important thing is just maintain your public safety, your space. If you ever feel threatened, walk away and back up and get help. And there's always help in every situation in the hospital environment, in the doctor's environment. There should be security somewhere along the way. I don't know about other medical facilities, but I know that the hospital, there's always security 24/7.
Thank you so much. And then sorry, Chrissy and Kyle, I don't know if you have any sort of, okay, I'll move on. And then the last question is, are there any EMR trainings out there that you all are aware of? This instructor was asking because they have one that comes with their curriculum, but they're not a big fan of it. So if you have any recommendations for that. And again, I'll open it up to anybody.
I actually just did a quick search. I mean, for my job, obviously the training then goes to our client or the organization that our talent is employed with. So, you know, but I have heard of candidates that, I mean, just a quick search, there's Epic software training on YouTube, and there's Epic EMR like online training. So that was just in like a quick search. I'm sure there's got to be something. So I can definitely dive into that and maybe provide something if I find anything. But there's got to be resources out there. I know for a fact there is.
What I would say is that it depends on the institution, because I work for 3 different large organizations and each of them have a different EMR. Each of them have different modules, even Epic. Let's say, oh, I know Epic. No, this hospital has these modules of Epic. This hospital has these modules of Epic, and they do it differently. So the flexibility that Chrissy was talking about earlier, you're just going to have to wait until you get into the institution. They'll train you right then and there for what they have available. So there's not really any, I don't think, any certification that you can get before getting into that institution.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was, I believe, the last one in the chat. And then, so thank you for answering that question as well for the instructor. So Kylie, I'll give it back to you.
Kylie,
Awesome.
I'm sorry, this is Lynn Cottrell. I responded to that. So for MA specifically, there's a lot of different books that come from your publishers.
I was just gonna say, I was actually gonna
Yeah, I
recommend
use
that.
one that's called SimChart, and they've gotten the
Okay.
bugs out of it now. It's been around for about 4 years, but it's fantastic, and you can customize it to your curriculum. So if you're using that AAMA curriculum, you can just pick out the modules that you want. There's over 100 exercises. And then for the majority of my MA students who are out at externship, be it at a large corporate like Kaiser or Memorial Care, they provide the training. But if the student is comfortable with the SimChart exercises, I think there's no way that they would not be comfortable with Epic or something like that. And then the other thing I wanted to remind everybody, it's hard to find a student-based Epic because we cannot, because of HIPAA, they come unpopulated. So we don't have any patients in there. This SimChart gets around that by, I think these are all probably little falsetto scenarios that we're attuned to. So anyway, it's in the chart, and I recommend that book. It works out really well for my students.
That's amazing. You know better than us.
Not always.
I love that. Thank you so much. Okay, going into the last couple questions here. Do the teachers who teach CMA need to have specific credentials or education? I don't really know how to answer that. I would say yes.
Hey, it's Lynn again. I'll answer that.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great.
In order, if you're going with the AAMA, you have to be certified by the American Association of Medical Assistants. I have a master's degree in nursing, but when I went to OCC, I had to redo my CMA because it had been since 1970 something. And the lady even laughed at me and she said, it's like making the Navy SEAL take the Boy Scout swimming test, but it's just something we had to do for our accreditation purposes. So once we got over that hump, and then if you go with the California, it's how your curriculum is written. So it's a little different. I've written for high school and for college, but the person who writes the curriculum specifies who can teach the course. And for most facilities, it's 5 years of working experience, and then they may require that you have a degree as well on top of that. And for the high school, it was the same thing. And so we get people who apply all the time, and we look at their LinkedIn, this, that, and the other thing. But the best thing you could do is just look at their licensure and see if they do meet the requirements that your curriculum committee has set forth and that your course outline and record states. That's the safest way to be possible. So your students will be able to sit. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. We might have a few more questions for you. Drew, did you have something to add there?
I was just thinking, certification wise, I know nurses can become nurse practitioners. You can go up to even have a PhD in nursing. And for physician assistants who are master's level, so you've had your 4 years of college, then you go into and get a master's level degree where you can assist a physician. So you're not a physician, but you assist. So you do everything that a physician does, but under the supervision of a physician. These guys have a master's level, but they can do another 1.5 years, and then they will have a PhD level, just like nurses, but this is physician assistant, doctorate level medical science degree. So there is many ways to take care of patients rather than just the typical medical doctor.
This is not really related to that at all, but it just made me think about it and wish somebody had told me this a long time ago. If you are interested in pursuing your higher level of education, I highly suggest doing it while you're in the mindset of school and degrees and all of that, because when you start working, it is very, very, very hard to go back. If you have the means, and now programs are so, when I was in school, you had to go to work in order to come back and get your master's and all this stuff, and it just wasn't for me. But now there's so many programs out there where you can maybe take one more semester or one more year to get that advanced certificate or degree. And I would just really consider it. I think that that is something, obviously there's a lot of different things that go into that, financial and logistical and all of that, but something to think about, because when you are, for instance, right now, my husband, who is a lot older than probably a lot of you college students like me, is trying to get his master's right now, and it is very hard with 2 young kids running around and working full time. So just something to keep in mind, that those extra degrees or certificates, you know, I would consider them if you're thinking your career path may take different twists and turns.
Awesome. Going into the next question, do you see the hourly salary for MAs increasing over the next few years? I personally haven't really seen an increase in the last 2 years, but I must say this is going to be dependent on the organization and dependent on the location. I know just in the last few months when I started recruiting in Seattle, their pay rates are significantly higher than maybe South Orange County. So I think it's going to depend on the organization as well as the location. So that's what I think.
Yeah, in the fields of medicine where you can start out as truly just a clinical information assistant, where all you need is a couple years of college, or you're in college and you're not sure what your degree is, you can become a medical scribe or a medical information documenter, however you want to call these people. You can definitely see slight, slow increases in your base pay, but because you don't actually have any skills after a certain level, after a couple of years of doing the scribing or the medical informatics, there's not much more you can do beyond that. I don't see that salary continuing to go on and on. But if you stay with the company, even with Vituity, you will see that a lot of times they'll give you raises for loyalty, you know, because you've been here for a couple years now, we'll give you a raise because you've been here. And it might be $1 or $2, but it won't be so substantial that you could probably build a whole career and life on it. MA, you can, scribes, most scribes go on to become physician assistants or become physicians. So I don't think that pay rate is going to go up higher. Nursing and physician assistants, they will see a lot of sequential raises with loyalty, with time, with seniority. Some companies like ours have even partnership tracks where you get bonuses based on your productivity, based on your evaluations. So you can see more income over time because of that. But the higher degrees tend to have more potential for earning growth.
Thanks so much. Lynn, we might need you back for this next question. The question is, what advice do you have for high school instructors who are currently preparing students for the college courses?
I would say we discussed this a little earlier on, but it's basically math, science, and I find I get a lot of true freshmen in my med-term class. They've been led, you know, through high school, and they need more independence. So if the counselors could really focus on that, they may need a tutor. You know, I tell my students, it's okay if you don't understand fractions. It's okay if you don't know how to work with decimals, but we have to start someplace. So getting a good assessment for them and supporting them. And a lot of these kids, unfortunately, they may be new immigrants to the United States, and maybe they never went to school. We used to get a lot of that in the ROP program. So just assessing your student and see where they really stand, where, you know, Where's the starting point? And that's where we'll work from. But to lead them down the daisy path and say, you know, you're going to be a medical assistant just because you signed up here, that's not the way to go, in my opinion. They don't make good MAs. First of all, I wouldn't let them out of my classroom to take care of you or your child. So, you know, let's do the litmus test on that. And it's okay. It's okay to say, I'm not ready. And for some reason, I think it's just society today. These kids come in and they want to, you know, we have a huge waiting list for DMS at OCC. It's about 7 years to get in the wait list. They don't want to do anything in the interim. They just want to sit home and wait. So I think there needs to be a paradigm shift also in motivation for these young students, that, you know, nobody's going to come knock on your door and say, hey, I have a great job for you. That's why we encourage them to take these entry-level courses like medical assisting, dental assisting, EMS, so that they can you know, go on and at least ascertain some kind of employment that will support them. I had one little student, I share this, I'll share it with you guys because it's pretty inspirational. She was an MA in my class. She got hired down at Mission as an MA. She worked there for 6 years while her number was coming up for DMS. She was able to save $65,000 in that short amount of time. She did move home with mom and dad, but she knew that when she got into the DMS program, which is much more rigorous than MA, that she didn't have to worry about working. And I think that's kind of what Chrissy was alluding to. Her husband's in a master's degree program. So letting them know what the real picture looks like, don't lead them down the daisy path, and a lot of reassurance, because sometimes they're just afraid to raise that hand and say, I don't get it. Or you do get that now. You know, now that we're on Zoom, I have a close-up of every one of my students' faces, and you can tell, okay, this person isn't engaged, they're not getting it. So I hope that helps you, high school teachers.
Obviously we do a lot with college students, but I think it translates across the board. Not letting COVID be an excuse for not doing anything. I see this a lot when it comes to talking with college kids. Oh, well, our labs were canceled, so we didn't do anything. And so I watched Netflix all summer. Well, sorry, the rest of us were in COVID too, but we all got to figure it out. And the students that really stand out are the ones that say, yeah, I've been at home. So I bought a 3D printer and I'm now designing things in 3D printing. Or, you know, my microwave broke, so I took it apart. Obviously, I'm being specific to like an engineering, which is what I mainly recruit for, but across the board, it applies to students figuring out ways to still do things, be hands-on, and not, like Lynn said, not waiting for somebody to show them what to do. You know, and you know, I get it. People can't work. There's internship programs that were canceled, but the students that are going to stand out are the ones that figured out something else to do, as opposed to just sitting around and waiting for something to come. And it's unfortunate, but it is, we all are in this. And reminding those students that, you know, it's looked upon from all levels. What did you do? What are you working on? What do you do with your free time? You know, all those things that are may not seem like much, really paint a big picture as to, you know, how you're motivated to do things when you're not being told to do things.
I'd like to add also that with this pandemic, the economic toll, sorry, on the healthcare system has been really sad, actually. We've lost a lot of positions for even highly educated people. So these same people are going to compete for possibly levels of jobs that they are way overqualified for, but they need a job. They need to make money again. So your high school students and college students are going to be competing with these people. So keep that in mind. You got to stand out somehow. And believe me, we will hire on experience first, and maybe the second would be how you interact with the person who's hiring. Your interpersonal skills.
That's great. Thank you. We almost talked about this last question for the industry panel, and that is, what advice do you have for high school or college students who are interested in the medical field but are not sure on where to start? I know Chrissy kind of touched base on that. Like, it doesn't really matter, just start. And I feel like I have the same perspective. Like, even a customer service job is transferable in like a skill set. Like, I think it's important to just be out there communicating, putting yourself out there, networking. I've recently been recruiting, like I said, in Seattle for the last few months a ton. And there's a lot of opportunities that I've seen, like no certification even necessary to do administrative work or to maybe start as like a caregiver. I know those aren't glamorous things that you may think off the bat, but to add something to your resume, I think it's seriously just starting and getting your feet wet. It may not be your passion, you may not love it, and that's okay. Just building a skill set, you know, to grow off of and getting that initial experience. And I think just taking initiative to get outside the box and get that customer service job or get that caregiving role, you know, something is better than nothing.
And there's a great widely opening field of home care now. In the past, it was also acute care in the facilities. Now there's so much home care, whether it be telehealth or physical home care where you go out to the patient's home. Social workers are going out to the home. Volunteers and bath aides for hospice companies, and caregiving that's actually happening at home a lot more often than it was in the past with the pandemic, because people don't want to be in group settings as much now.
Thank you so much, True. That was great.
Well, I guess it is time to go ahead and wrap it up. I know that we did end a couple minutes early, but I've heard that's beneficial for everyone. So I do want to thank the industry professionals here for joining us. And Kylie, thank you so much for helping us moderate, and each of you for your feedback, as I'm sure it helped all the educators that are present. Feel free, if you can, to share any of your contact information with the educators, that way if they would like to email you, in addition for any online speaker options that they may have in their classes. And we'll see you all next time. Thank you so much. Have a great day.